What happens when a state's finances dry up, but life goes on for the people who call it home? Roads fall into disrepair, hospitals shut down, schools disappear, and crime begins to rise. This isn't fiction, it's happening in parts of the United States right now. Some states are buried in debt, while others rely so heavily on a single industry that one major disruption could bring everything crashing down. This is the hidden crisis brewing beneath the surface of the U.S. economy. You might be surprised to learn which states are quietly slipping toward collapse. And if the national economy fails, these 10 states will be the first to break. Is your state showing the early warning signs? Let's take a closer look. Number 10. Mississippi. At first glance, it might seem like peaceful farmland and southern charm, but Mississippi tells a much harsher story beneath the surface. As the poorest state in the nation, it's already hanging by a thread. Nearly 20% of its population lives in poverty, and fewer than 54% of working-age adults are even part of the labor force, the lowest participation rate in the U.S. Job growth is nearly non-existent, and economic progress has come to a standstill. While other states attract tech, investors, and global partnerships, Mississippi draws almost none. Entire towns look untouched by time, decaying from years of neglect. Underfunded schools, shuttered hospitals, and shrinking opportunity paint a grim picture. And still, people stay, trying to survive in a system that offers them less each year. The concern now is, if the national economy takes a turn for the worse, will Mississippi be the first to break? And when it does, will the rest of the country even realize what's been lost? Number 9. Louisiana. You can smell the oil in the air and hear the smooth sounds of jazz echoing through the streets, but what slips under the radar is the slow decline happening behind the scenes. Louisiana may shine on the outside, but financially, it's one of the most unstable states in the country. More than 18% of its population lives below the poverty line. The economy leans heavily on oil and gas, sectors that swing wildly with global trends. And that's just the beginning. The state consistently ranks near the bottom when it comes to education, infrastructure, and healthcare. Natural disasters are common, and when you pair that with underfunded emergency reserves and ongoing budget shortfalls, you get a recipe for disaster, both literally and financially. If oil prices plummet again or a hurricane strikes during a recession, the state's stability could quickly collapse. These aren't just possibilities, they're serious warnings. Louisiana is teetering on the edge, and most people aren't watching closely enough. Before we go further, hit that subscribe button. These are the kinds of real-world deep dives we bring you, and they matter. Especially if your own state is next. It might look stable from the outside. But beneath that image, millions are struggling to stay afloat. How did a state once central to America's economic strength end up in such a vulnerable position? Stick around. The truth is even more startling. Number 8. Michigan. At first glance, it feels like a recovery is underway, but take a wrong turn and the cracks begin to show. Once the powerhouse of American manufacturing, Michigan is quietly wearing down. Yes, the auto plants are still in motion, but the foundation beneath them is fragile. In 2024, no state had a higher share of financially distressed residents. Over 38% of Michiganders were falling behind on bills, with bankruptcies mounting and credit defaults rising. It doesn't take a major collapse, just a slight economic wobble, for things here to begin unraveling. And that's already happening. This isn't just a Detroit issue. Across the state, you'll find shuttered businesses, decaying roads, and schools starved of funding. Michigan has tried to pivot its economy, but manufacturing still dominates its GDP. That means a hiccup in global supply chains or a downturn in the auto sector could instantly cost thousands their jobs. But there's more to it. Michigan isn't just financially strained, it's worn out. Decades of boom and bust cycles have taken their toll, leaving behind faded towns, empty promises, and broken retirement plans. From the highway, things might look normal. But behind those homes and storefronts, millions are just barely staying afloat. And when the next recession hits, and it will, Michigan may not just struggle. It may quietly fall apart. Number 7, Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas, including the problems that get swept under the rug. On the surface, the Lone Star State shines as an economic giant, but look a little closer and you'll see signs of serious trouble. In 2024, Texas ranked second nationwide for financial distress. Nearly 36% of residents are facing late payments, credit struggles, and increasing bankruptcies. It's not what most people expect from a state often held up as a symbol of prosperity. But the truth is, Texas's explosive growth may be part of the problem. Cities like Austin and Dallas are expanding rapidly, while rural areas are being left behind, economically and demographically. The cost of living is soaring, but wages haven't kept pace. Housing prices are pushing more and more families to the brink. Then there's the state's dependence on the energy sector. Oil and gas still dominate, and when the market dips, the fallout is swift and brutal, thousands of jobs gone in an instant. A global shock could send shockwaves through the state's economy again. And while Texas boasts booming tech hubs, the benefits haven't trickled down to most Texans. Healthcare access is among the worst in the nation, and social support systems are paper-thin. Many people are juggling multiple jobs just to stay afloat, and still falling short. The image of Texas as unbreakable is just that, an image. Cracks are spreading beneath the surface. And if a national recession hits, the consequences here could be louder and more destructive than anywhere else. If yours hasn't come up yet, it might soon. Texas, once a model of strength, now holds a troubling title, the worst funded pension system in America. The question is, how long before this financial time bomb goes off? Before we go further, make sure to subscribe, so you don't miss what's really going on in states across America. Stay with us. Number 6, Illinois. Imagine a mansion that looks grand from the outside, but underneath, the foundation is falling apart. That's Illinois, a state with a proud legacy and influential institutions, now sitting on one of the biggest financial disasters waiting to happen in America. Its pension system is in shambles, ranked the worst funded in the country, with unfunded obligations exceeding $140 billion. And that's not a mistake, that number is real. Worse yet, there's no serious plan to turn things around. Illinois also has one of the smallest budget reserves nationwide, offering little protection if a recession hits. When the economy dips, the results are immediate: service cuts, job losses, crumbling infrastructure, and everyday residents suffer most. Schools, transit systems, and healthcare services all start to break under the pressure. And here's the kicker: taxes keep going up. Illinoisans are already among the most heavily taxed in the U.S., especially when it comes to property taxes. Much of that money is going toward promises the state can no longer afford to keep. The result? People are leaving fast. For 10 consecutive years, Illinois has seen a population decline, mostly middle-class families who are done propping up a failing system. Even major cities like Chicago, as iconic and powerful as they are facing mounting debt problems. The crisis isn't isolated, it's a complex web of issues that keep getting worse. And while the image of Illinois still carries weight, those familiar with the inside reality know the truth. When the next major economic downturn arrives, Illinois might not just stumble, it could fall apart completely. So if you live in Illinois, the real question isn't whether trouble is coming. It's whether we're ready when it does. Number 5, Hawaii. They call it paradise, but even paradise has its problems. Behind the stunning beaches and postcard-perfect scenery, Hawaii is struggling beneath the surface. It's one of the most financially unstable states in the country, though most outsiders would never guess it. In 2024, Hawaii ranked among the worst in economic performance and among the highest in cost of living. Living in paradise isn't just pricey, it's isolating. Over 20% of Hawaii's entire economy depends on tourism, making it extremely vulnerable to global events like pandemics, wildfires, and airline disruptions. When COVID-19 hit or the Maui wildfire struck, the local economy nearly collapsed, and it still hasn't fully bounced back. Everything from groceries to gas costs more here, simply because nearly all goods must be shipped in. Housing? It's out of reach for many. Locals are increasingly being pushed out of their own neighborhoods, forced to leave the islands for the mainland just to make ends meet. This quiet migration is real, even if it rarely makes headlines. Meanwhile, the state struggles with high public debt and little wiggle room in its budget. Without tourism, there's almost no economic safety net. Another global shock could bring the entire system to its knees. The idea of endless sunshine and tropical bliss? For many Hawaiians, it's been replaced by relentless financial strain. So, the big question is, how much longer can Hawaii keep up the image of paradise when the cracks are already showing beneath the surface? Number 4. Nevada. Nevada dazzles with its bright lights and buzzing casinos, but beneath the glamour lies a state walking a financial tightrope. Its economy depends heavily on entertainment and tourism. Over 25% of its entire workforce is tied to hospitality and leisure. That dependency is its biggest weakness. When consumer spending drops, Nevada doesn't just feel the impact, it crumbles. We've seen it happen. During the Great Recession, Nevada became the epicenter of the housing crisis. It held the highest foreclosure rates in the country for years, with entire neighborhoods left empty almost overnight. Las Vegas may have recovered since, but the underlying issues remain. Tourism, which fuels most of the state's revenue, is fragile. A global crisis, a pandemic, or even a natural disaster can grind everything to a halt. And with one of the smallest state budgets per capita, Nevada has little room to respond. The absence of a state income tax might sound appealing, but it also means less funding for essentials like healthcare, education, and emergency services. Most of Nevada's income comes from sales taxes and tourist dollars, both of which vanish quickly in hard times. Urban areas like Las Vegas continue to grow, but rural regions lag far behind. These areas often face high unemployment, teacher and doctor shortages, and unreliable internet access. Nevada's economy, much like its casinos, is flashy, fast-paced, and risky. And if another major crisis hits, the state could collapse before anyone even notices the danger, because the odds were stacked from the start. Number 3. Kentucky. Rolling hills and country charm paint a beautiful picture, but look beneath the surface, and a different reality emerges. Once a proud hub of manufacturing and coal mining, Kentucky is now grappling with deep economic and social decline. It ranks among the most economically distressed states in the U.S., with nearly 1 in 5 residents living in poverty. In many rural communities, that number is even higher. But it's not just about low incomes, it's about shrinking opportunities. Entire counties are losing access to essential services. Hospitals have shut down. Schools are underfunded. The opioid crisis has ravaged towns, leaving scars that recovery efforts have barely touched. Progress is uneven, and support is scarce. Job growth is weak, and tech investment is almost non-existent. While the rest of the country moves forward, large parts of Kentucky seem frozen in place, or worse, falling behind. And there's a hidden crisis few talk about. Kentucky relies heavily on federal aid, from food stamps to Medicaid. If federal budgets tighten, the impact here is immediate and severe. Add to that an underfunded pension system, crumbling infrastructure, and a huge divide between the modernizing cities and struggling rural areas. When the economy slows, Kentucky's most vulnerable are left with no cushion. That safety net? It's wearing thin. And when the next recession hits, this isn't just a state at risk, it could be one in free fall. Kentucky stands for Southern pride and strong roots. But when nearly every key measure, education, economy, healthcare, points downward, what happens next? Don't forget to subscribe. That single click keeps these stories coming and helps you stay informed before the next crisis arrives. Number 2. Alabama. Alabama is a place where tradition runs deep and communities stick together. But look a little closer, and you'll see a different story unfolding, one of quiet decline across multiple areas. The state ranks among the lowest in the nation when it comes to healthcare, education, infrastructure, and economic opportunity. In many rural counties, people still don't have reliable access to clean water, high-speed internet, or even a nearby hospital. And when the economy takes a hit, these places don't just struggle, they crumble. With a poverty rate around 16.5% and child poverty even higher, countless families are living paycheck to paycheck. When inflation rises or jobs disappear, there's nothing to fall back on. A large portion of Alabama's workforce is stuck in low-wage, physically demanding jobs, like poultry processing, retail, or public services, the kinds of roles that are often the first to vanish in a downturn. And then there's the education system, which is consistently ranked near the very bottom nationwide. Graduation rates are low, test scores lag behind, and there's limited access to technical or vocational training. Without properly preparing its young people, how can the state hope to compete in the future? The challenges don't stop there. Over 40% of Alabama's rural roads are in poor or mediocre shape, and many bridges are old and unsafe. With limited investment and not enough federal support reaching these areas, meaningful improvement seems far off. Alabama is heavily dependent on federal funding just to keep essential services running, from Medicaid to public education. So if budget cuts come from Washington, or another national recession hits, the state may not have the resources or safety nets in place to protect its people. Alabama has pride, history, and resilience, but those things alone can't fix what's broken. And if these cracks keep widening, Alabama could end up leading a list that no one wants to be on. Number 1. West Virginia. Tucked away in the Appalachian Mountains, West Virginia is rich in natural beauty, tradition, and hard-working people. But beneath the surface, serious struggles are unfolding. The state has been steadily losing population over the past decade, one of the fastest declines in the country, as jobs disappear and young people move elsewhere in search of better opportunities. The economic outlook is bleak. West Virginia has the lowest workforce participation rate in the U.S., with less than 55% of working-age adults holding jobs or even looking for one. This isn't just a number, it's a red flag. When nearly half the eligible population is disconnected from the workforce, it puts the entire economy under strain. Once powered by coal, the state now faces the collapse of the industry that sustained it for generations. Thousands of mining jobs have vanished, and no strong alternative has taken their place. Formerly thriving coal towns have fallen silent. Many now resemble ghost towns. Healthcare is in crisis. West Virginia leads the nation in drug overdose deaths per capita, and access to mental health services is scarce. Rural hospitals are closing, forcing residents to travel long distances for even basic medical treatment. Combined with high rates of chronic illnesses like diabetes, heart disease, and obesity, the state's healthcare system is overwhelmed and chronically underfunded. Education isn't faring much better. The state ranks near the bottom in graduation rates, and relatively few students pursue higher education. Even when they do, many end up leaving the state permanently due to the lack of jobs for skilled workers. To make matters worse, nearly a third of West Virginia's entire budget relies on federal funding. Any reduction in national aid could send shockwaves through the state's fragile system. This isn't just poor governance, it's a slow, painful decline already well underway. West Virginia is undeniably proud and picturesque, but economically, it's one of the states most vulnerable to a nationwide recession. If the U.S. experiences a serious downturn soon, many of its communities could face permanent decline. Glad you could join us. Stay tuned, more to come.